Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back to another Honkai Star video, and for today I have a guide video on the best team for every 5-star character. Team building's advancing at a breakneck pace, and with version 2 nearing its end, let's take a gander at every unit and see who their best team is. By this point I'd say every engine with the exception of damage over time has gotten some kind of attention, and with there being talks of a possible combat expansion in version 3, I'm expecting there to be a lot more. For the time being though, let's see what we have to work with here. For brevity's sake, I'll be going fairly quickly through each character, on account of there being quite a few of them, but if you're concerned about finding more detailed information, I recommend you take a look at the guides made by Brax and Guoba, but like with my Genshin and Huohuo versions, if you're just looking for a fast reference on who to pair who with who, this should be sufficient at pointing you in the right direction. With that said, the dynamics of Star Rail's endgame do require you to adapt to minute differences from one battle to the next, as in you use the same party engine, but because of weakness type, cycle blessing, or some enemy mechanic or whatnot, you might have to swap out one party member just for the sake of that fight. Then there's of course the existence of multiple game modes to think about. The focus of this video is to give you the best team for each character in a general sense, but I will pose alternatives if they come close in usefulness. With that said, let's not waste any more time and get started. Suffice to say, Bailu's been dealt a rough hand in life, having been power crept almost immediately after the game came out, and it's only gotten harder thereafter. But if you do decide to make use of her as an abundance character, you can theoretically put her into any team you want. It'll be a downgrade, but it will get the job done. Currently, I'd wager her best bet is to ride the coattails of Feixiao, who's perfectly capable of executing her game plan with only 2 other party members. Feixiao essentially makes it so every single member of her team deals damage by initiating a follow-up attack after their own, and with Bailu's SP-positive gameplay, at the very least, she'll be unintrusive to what the party is trying to do. I recommend Bailu, Feixiao, Topaz, and Robin. Next to Himeko, Bronya aged the best among the standard banner 5-stars. Despite having been power crept by Sparkle and especially Sunday, there are still a few instances where you can find good use for her. The guy who likes her the most would for certain be Boothill. She can shorten the amount of time it takes for Boothill to fully stack up, while offering him a guaranteed full turn refresh, something that Sparkle is unable to do. As per usual, if you're going for break damage, Ruan Mei is the best bet, and then for sustain you'll want either Gallagher, Lingsha, or if you're not going for sustain at all, then throw in Harmony Trailblazer or Silver Wolf. Clara's been a decent choice prior to Yunli, and in all honesty she's still more than serviceable, especially for those who don't have the latter. As a follow-up counter-attacker, your best bet is to go for a standard follow-up team. Robin of course, she's practically obligatory in every follow-up team. A sustain unit to keep her alive, anyone will do, but I think Xuan's persistent crit buff and crowd control shield works best on her, and then a follow-up booster, either Topaz or Jade. That being said, you can also go Tingyun and Huohuo in place of Xuan and one of those two. Little Jeppy's known for only one chop, Big Shield. He also freezes if and when you need it. There aren't really any uses where he's bad, but there also aren't any uses where he's amazing either. If you do find yourself using him, I'd recommend either an Acheron party, making use of his ability to apply a debuff to stack her ultimate up faster, and he can also apply a burn with the trend of the Universal Market Light Cone. Alternatively, if you have Feixiao, Robin, and Topaz, you can throw him in there as well for the same reason you can put Bailu in a Feixiao party. She's just that good. Obviously, Acheron party is better for pure fiction, while Feixiao is better for MLC and Daypok. Miss Himeko has gone through a myriad of buffs ever since her release. Well deserved I might add. As you know, she's one of the few characters who can work in just about every relevant scenario you can think of. So with that taken into account, if you're going a follow-up team, in Perfection you can of course go the Hertigo or Jadeco squad alongside Robin and Aventurine. In MLC and Daypok Shadow, she's a good supplementary character or standalone. If you team her up with Firefly and go for a full burst route, these 2 units in tandem with Fugue or HMC and then Ruan Mei have among the fastest clears in the game, or she even does a decent job as a frontrunner featuring herself, Fugue or HMC, Ruan Mei, and Lingsha. Honestly, there are just too many good teams on her, but for the most part you'll be sticking to a follow-up or break engine, follow-up attacks mainly for PF and super break for the other 2 modes. Mr. Welt Yang, what party is good for you? I have no freaking clue. This guy was niche on arrival and has stayed that way ever since, not really having a decent party to go along with that doesn't feel like an ass pull. As a Nihility character, you can bring him into an Acheron team to fulfill the 2 Nihility support requirement alongside Pela or Jiaoqiu, or if you feel like it, you can abuse the HMC Alt DPS party glitch and throw him into a break team. People humorously found a use for him through the quote-unquote Welt sustain build, wherein he replaces a sustain slot by delaying enemy action long enough to where your party can one-shot them before their turn comes up, making it so you don't need a sustain. In that regard, you can go Welt, Firefly, HMC, and Ruan Mei, a worthwhile option to consider. Yanqing's best party is no one. Yanqing. Worthless ass character, why the hell do I keep losing 50-50s to you? Look at this! Look at this! Fuck! Yanqing's best party, honestly, who cares at this point? Just give him 2 hyper carry supports like Sunday and Sparkle and then Aventurine and call it a day. Seele's best team is still more likely than not the Mono Quantum team with Silver Wolf, Sparkle, and Xuan. However, there are formations that you can run that trade utility for more front-loaded DPS. I've seen more people go Seele, Sparkle, Xuan, and Robin for 2 resets, or you can even take it a step further by going Seele, Sparkle, Sunday, and Robin for triple resets, giving her close to like half a dozen actions in a single rotation, not counting the possible refreshes. One thing is for certain, you need Sparkle to replenish SP on her or Sunday with E1, but from then on, it's fair game. If you're bringing her into Pure Fiction, just make sure you have someone who can help her out with AoE damage. Our General. Your best team has changed more times than I can count, but we all know who's number 1 on the list, Sunday. This guy's the best thing for Jingliu since sliced bread. Throw in Robin for tons of attack and more actions, and then you can wrap it up with either a sustain unit who can block or resist crowd control like Huohuo, Xuan, or Aventurine, or thanks to Sunday, you can play him for speed running and throw in Jiaoqiu or Topaz for more DPS. This man cannot stop getting buffed, huh? As a healer who couldn't care less how you play him, Luocha can be used in practically any team. Granted, having no semblance of DPS boosting utility in his base kit makes it so other sustain options are admittedly better, but you can have him as a sustain for follow-up teams like Feixiao, or as a sustain for Acheron if you're fine with your healer not having any debuffs. Also, you could make use of him as a super break healer, sort of like an imaginary Gallagher. And people have, in which case it would be himself, HMC or Fugue, Ruan Mei, and then a break attacker. Take your pick. Silverwolf's best team is undoubtedly Acheron Hypercarry. You can go her, Acheron, Pela, and Xuan, or a more optimal strategy will be to swap out Pela with Jiaoqiu if you have him. It's currently the strongest formation for base Acheron. You don't really care much about the weakness implant as Acheron can break toughness anyway. What you really want from Silverwolf is the ultimate debuff. Blade's in a tough spot, but if you're adamant about using him, for MOC I would go Sunday, Robin, and Luocha, and in Pure Fiction, definitely bring Jade, and then Sunday and Robin, or Sunday and Luocha if you need a sustain. Until we get an HP support, he'll just be Jade's power bottom in PF, and that's about it. That being said, Sunday's a decent general boost for him, but then again, Sunday's a boost for everyone. Kafka's best team sadly hasn't been updated in quite some time, so unsurprisingly it's still Kafka Swan, featuring her, Black Swan, Robin, and Huohuo. Alternatively, you could swap out Robin for Jiaoqiu or Ruan Mei for more or less a side grade. It really depends on Idol and Zinc gear and whatnot. You can of course go the triple Nihility Mommy team with Acheron, Kafka, Black Swan, and Huohuo. Whichever team you go for, Black Swan's a must. Lunae Danheng's best team is a simple one, himself, Sunday, Sparkle, and Huohuo. Or once again, if you don't care for a sustain, you can swap out Huohuo for Tingyun or Robin and Praise you can one-shot. Battery, SP, and damage are the key factors to this guy. In terms of who's obligatory, I'd say you definitely want Sunday and or Sparkle before investing anything more in him. But at the moment, the rule of thumb is to pair Sparkle Sunday, Sunday Robin, or Robin Sparkle. But if you do Sunday Robin, you do need to make sure Sunday's at least S1 for SP. One more thing, the SP cost on Danheng increases if you have E2, so that's also a factor to consider. For the sake of simplicity though, Lunae Danheng, Robin, S1 Sunday, and Huohuo. Fuxian's a general cover tank. Naturally, she's usable in technically any team. The key distinction between her and Aventurine is that Xuan can give crit rate, which makes her ever so slightly more valuable to carries who need to be as close to 100% crit as possible. And also crowd control barrier, good for people who cannot afford to roll the dice on being CC'd or not. At the moment, I'd say her best team would be a draw between Acheron and Feixiao. I personally think Aventurine or Linkshot do better for Feixiao since follow-ups, so that means Acheron is Fuxian's best carry to pair with alongside Jiaoqiu and Sparkle or Jiaoqiu and Pela depending on Acheron's idolance. Being a self-contained hypercarry, Jingliu really doesn't care about who she brings, as long as I help her do her thing, so we'll go Ruan Mei, Sunday, and Robin. Prior to Sunday would have gone to Bronya, but seeing as how Sunday's essentially Bronya power crept to infinity, that would be your next bet. I don't really recommend using Jingliu in Pure Fiction unless you have no other option, but if you do plan to use her in PF, you can swap out Ruan Mei for a Blade. If you need a sustain option, you can also swap out Ruan Mei for Huohuo to get some extra battery. Topaz is the best supplementary attacker for follow teams, and the best follow-up attacker at the moment would be Feixiao without question. Commence the FAR team, Feixiao, Aventurine, Robin, and Topaz. I would go on record to say this is the current best team in the game period, although you can always swap out Aventurine for some more buffing like Feixiao, Sunday, Robin, and Topaz. But I wouldn't sleep on Aventurine's offensive merits. Besides, Aventurine does make the team immune to dying, which is a plus in my opinion. Just like I said with Xuan, Huohuo was meant to be good in virtually every team, but the ones that need her a bit more are those who could use a battery or the attack buffs. In this case, I would say her best team is currently Yunli. Second best would either be Jingliu or Kafka Swan, but for Yunli it would be Huohuo, Yunli, Robin, and a tie between Topaz or Jingliu. For Kafka Swan, the final character would be Ruan Mei, and for Jingliu it would be Huohuo, Jingliu, Sunday, and Robin. She's just too usable in way too many teams. Argenti's best team is Pure Fiction. Like legit, just throw him in Pure Fiction and watch him solo everything. Give him lots and lots of battery. Sunday, Huohuo, and Tingyun. Turn on auto battle, go AFK, and come back to a 40k clear easy. He sucks everywhere else though, so lock him up in the PF dungeon for the rest of the time. Ruan Mei's best team is without a doubt break teams. Pair her with Harmony MC or Fugue, Lingsha, and then insert break focused unit here like Rappa, Firefly, Boothill, Himeko, whoever the hell you want to use. Beyond that, she's a good choice for double carry teams like Kafka Swan, given her ability to AoE buff the entire team consistently, and the fact that she gives buffs that can increase even damage over time. She's an everything support. No matter who you play her with, she'll be at worst a good option. Dr. Ratio lost a lot of market share following the release of Boothill and Feixiao in terms of single target DPS, but he's still a strong contender, notably if you need the imaginary element. Your best bet is to go Ratio, Robin, Sunday, and Jiaoqiu. Reason for Jiaoqiu is to get debuffs on the target nice and easy. Sunday and Robin are a perfect duo for any follow-up carry like him as well, but if you're concerned about sustain, you can substitute Robin for Aventurine. Black Swan's best party is the same as Kafka's. The two are practically joined at the hip, but in case you skipped ahead to her section, Kafka and Black Swan, then for your third party member you can choose Acheron, or you can go Ruan Mei, Robin, or Jiaoqiu, anyone will do. And for sustain, go Huohuo. Black Swan can also be a solid rogue strategy for Acheron in Pure Fiction, in which case you can go Acheron, Black Swan, Robin, and a sustain unit. Sparkle's been challenged quite hard by the advent of Sunday, but that doesn't mean she's all of a sudden irrelevant. In fact, you can always just put her and Sunday together and watch them super buff every hyper carry in existence. Regardless, her best team at the moment I would say is with Acheron. Obviously for base Acheron you take a small DPS cut due to only having one Nihility character, but even at base, Sparkle is still worth having. Acheron, Sparkle, Jiaoqiu, and Xuan. As an alternative, you can go Lunae, Danhang, Sparkle, Sunday, and Huohuo. Acheron's best team depends on if you have V0 or E2. If you have V0, then it's herself, Jiaoqiu, Silverwolf, or Pela depending on the number of targets, or even Robin, and then Aventurine or Xuan. Or if you have V2 Acheron, then it's herself, Jiaoqiu, Sunday, and Aventurine or Xuan again. That applies to all game modes by the way, doesn't matter if it's MLC, PF, or APOC. Mr. Aventurine, the friends. Your best team is anything honestly, preferably follow-up attack oriented. When in doubt, Fart team, Feixiao, Aventurine, Robin, and Topaz. Can never go wrong with that. Like with any other sustain, you can practically use Aventurine for anything. Similarly to Ruan Mei, Robin is designed to be usable for any party on a fundamental level, but of course, her best engine is follow-ups. Fart team once again. In Pure Fiction though, I would say her best team is any combination of her to go, Jadeco, or her to Jade, whichever elements you need. Essentially just make sure she's with a follow-up attacker. Okay, so Boothill's best teams himself, Ruan Mei, Fugue, and Lingsha. Technically you don't need to bring a super break enabler like HMC or Fugue because Boothill doesn't actually rely on super breaks like how Firefly does, he simply deals damage equal to his break efficiency. That being said, super break damage is still helpful to have anyway. If for whatever reason you don't want to go super break, you can go himself, Ruan Mei, some turn advancer like Bronya or Sunday, and a sustain like Lingsha or Gallagher, mostly for the break damage amp since without super break those two won't be doing a whole lot. Now typically endgame Boothill players forego sustain completely on him and go pure DPS, in which case Boothill, Ruan Mei, Fugue, and Sunday. Unlike Boothill, Firefly needs an element of super break. She has a bit of her own, but she needs more. Conveniently, there's an accessible source in the form of HMC, or if you have Fugue you can get even more out of it, especially since we have guaranteed fire weakness implant on everyone. Secondarily, you want Lingsha for her break damage amp and doing tons of break damage herself among other things. Gallagher's a cheaper option, but Lingsha is just so good with Firefly. Then for your last option, it's a tie between Ruan Mei or HMC. I kinda hope we have another fire support character so we can do a mono fire team. Jade's best team is realistically anyone who can attack 5 enemies in Pure Fiction. Argenti, Herda, Himeko, Lingsha, Blade, Rappa, take your pick. She just wants someone who can kill a bunch of dudes. If you're wondering why I included Lingsha, remember Lingsha has multiple AoE attacks in her kit, so believe it or not, if you have say Jade, Himeko, and Lingsha, you actually want to attack Lingsha with Jade, not Himeko. Jade's practically the best support in Pure Fiction at the moment. Just to give you an actual team on screen though, we'll go with Jade, Sunday, Robin, and Lingsha as the best team. Yunli's best team's going to be reminiscent of Clara's, but with a few differences. You want to go her plus someone who can cleanse or nullify crowd control, so Huohuo or Xuan. Then you want Jiaoqiu because if you remember Yunli does ultimate damage, and also because Jiaoqiu has a general damage boost, and for your last one you can choose between Sunday or Tingyun. Jiaoqiu's best job would be probably Acheron. If you zero Acheron, go herself, Jiaoqiu, Silverwolf, or Pela or Robin, again depends on investment, and a sustain. If you 2 Acheron, go herself, Jiaoqiu, Sunday, and sustain. Basically Xuan or Aventurine. There are some other uses for him though, competitive ones at that. In Kafka Swan you can replace Ruan Mei or Robin with him, and you can also be good support for Ratio due to debuff application and for Yunli thanks to the ultimate damage, not to mention his general debuffing pressure with increased damage taken. Feixiao's best team is herself and Robin. I shit you not, it's just those two. The other half literally does not matter, you just bring her and the karaoke queen and watch as Feixiao just shits out damage all over the place. Believe it or not, she's actually not half bad in pure fiction thanks to having one of the easiest follow-up activations in the game, so you can bring her as a companion unit to Herta if you're in a pinch. But obviously she's far and away the best attacker in MOC and APOC right now. If you do care about the other two units, Fart team essentially, Feixiao, Aventurine, Robin, and Topaz. Lingxiao's best engine is between Super Break and Follow-Up. She does have a use in follow-ups courtesy of Yuan being a summon, but I think Break's a tad bit better. Go for Firefly, Boothill, or Rappa for carry, Fugue, Harmony, MC, or Ruan Mei, and Lingxia for Super Break. If you're going follow-up, you simply replace Aventurine in the Fart team with Lingxia and continue on about your day. In pure fiction I mentioned, you can also use Lingxia as a carry if you tag her with Jade, so there's that too. I still can't believe people thought Lingxia was only 5% better than Gallagher, that's ultra cap. Rappa's best engine is gonna be Super Break, basically yourself, Fugue, Ruan Mei, or Harmony MC, and then Lingxia or Gallagher depending on who you have. Now despite being a breaker, as an erudition character she is a good candidate to be paired with Jade, since all the IPC lady needs is someone who can attack a bunch of dudes a bunch of times. Rappa does exactly that. You do have to sacrifice your healer slot to allow this though. Sunday's best team is every single team in the entire goddamn game. Changed my mind. This guy's horse. Pull him, use him, fix him, maybe, but definitely use and abuse him. Fugue is pragmatically a 5-star fire version of Harmony MC, who can therefore do a little bit more. She's now a guaranteed best in slot in any break-related team, Rappa, Boothill, Firefly, what have you. You can use her and HMC together by the way, you can use more than one super break enabler. I'm just happy to have my waifu back dude. Tina's my number one, and I've been waiting for her to come back again. Alrighty, that concludes my best team for every 5-star character. Like I mentioned before, I highly recommend you check out the full detailed guides made by my good friends Brax and Gul above for more information on each individual character. But I hope this was insightful to those who needed it and entertaining to those who wanted it. If you enjoyed the video, it would be great if you gave it a like and subscribed. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @VarsVerm, join my Discord server, and check out my other Honkai style videos if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.